Hellos, this is Crystal Chapel here, the supernova personified. Today I'll be going over my research project titled The Connection Between Metaphysics and Astrophysics with respect to Anti-Empiricism. This video examines the intersection between metaphysics and astrophysics, a correlation that is at odds with empiricism, arguing that some foundational queries in astrophysics defy and transcend empirical methods. Inspired by historical and modern perspectives on subjects such as philosophy, psychology, and cosmology, the study examines how metaphysics can offer insights on astronomy in situations where direct observation is difficult or impossible with humanity's current technological arsenal, such as the Pythagorean paradigm, the nature of time in respect to humanity's perspective, consciousness's role in the creation of reality, and speculations about the multiverse. While exploring the epistemological differences in both fields challenges the expectation that empirical methods are the sole path to grounding, cosmological investigation, and theorization. This video essay promotes a more interdisciplinary integration that recognizes the value of philosophy in scientific thought, thereby enlightening both the scientific and metaphysical communities to advance further than ever before. The connection between metaphysics and science could lead to a fuller picture of the universe in a time when humanity's observation techniques are limited and fall short of accomplishing what is possible. Focuses discussed in this video include topics like a neo-Aristotelian approach to science, the perception of the sun before the development of astrophysics, the nature of mass, Aristotle, Ptolemy, and Copernicus's insights on astronomy and astrophysics, as well as musings on the multiverse and string theory, dark matter, the human perception of time, anthropic principles, the relation between entropy bounds on a black hole, and the existence of a higher power, the idea of collective consciousness in metaphysics, and free will concerning compatibilism. Astrophysics is highly dependent on observations and quantifiable measurements as a subsect of physical science. Its empirical methodologies have made fantastic strides in the evolution of technology, helping humankind develop a better understanding of the cosmos and in turn, helping them make better sense of themselves. An example of ingenuity with empirical observations in astrophysics includes the precise process of landing people on the moon. Despite empirical contributions to astrophysics, humanity's current instrumentalization capabilities are stunted, resulting in a need for more philosophical approaches to the probes into subjects like dark matter, the origin of the universe, the validity of the Big Bang, multiverse hypotheses, and others. Humanity's curiosity pushes the species into uncharted territory, where their questions' depth and complexity can exceed current understanding and technological ability. Thus, blending empiricism with rationalism is an emerging solution in astrophysics. The following research investigates the relationship between astrophysics and metaphysics through the lens of anti-empiricism, opposing the idea that all knowledge must originate from sensory observation. Instead, the study posits that metaphysics offers a perspective that empiricism lacks. Despite empiricism's reign over scientific thought, there are conceptual misalignments that science may deem legitimate without proper evidence behind them. A prime example of this is the fact that singularities lack empirical evidence, although they're seen as legitimate. In the past, metaphysics has laid a foundation for astrophysics. Causality and uniformity are examples of topics that predate astrophysics. Although they weren't introduced into the scientific collective through observation, they were necessary precursors for topics in astrophysics. Anti-empiricism serves as a demand for acknowledgement of philosophical inspirations weaved into astrophysics, not as a disgrace to scientific methods. Metaphysical inquiry deserves to be taken seriously in the scientific community. Balance is a virtue in regard to this study. Interdisciplinary approaches lead to a more well-rounded and fuller perspective of any issue or field. Philosophical interpretations of the sun offer a compelling introduction to the interdisciplinary powerhouse existing between metaphysics and astrophysics. The metaphysical fascination with the sun conveys that humanity gets intuitive nudges about astrophysics without directly knowing the facts behind a given celestial object. The sun was seen as a symbol of divinity and creation, which humanity could understand without comprehending the development of the sun and our solar system. The Kutrovátz study, The Hearth of the World, the Sun Before Astrophysics, highlights the inherent intuitive connection between metaphysics and astrophysics. Aristotle's musings on the sun remind me of my own metaphysical assumptions about astrophysics, specifically that ether is the fifth element. Both Aristotle and I independently came to this conclusion by deducing that creation comes from nothing and the ether is the embodiment of nothing. It's similar to the womb being a void that creates life, the cosmological equivalent being a void cloud of gas and dust, birthing galaxies in the case of nebulas. Another metaphysical connection with astrophysics relates macroscopic objects and mass to the idea of consciousness creating reality. Research asserts that mass is a form of wave-carrying momentum. The research being conducted by Kallio-Tamminen in Beyond Wave Particle Dualism, how Suntola's mass wave concept unites physics and metaphysics. The zero-energy principle, which refers to the rest energy of an object with mass, balancing out the gravitational energy of the space around it, is the indisputable truth in this study. The nature of de Broglie's hypothesis contradicts previous understandings of physics, which established that science is subject to change and not as concrete as physicists thought. Physics' lack of straightforwardness should require a new breed of thinking about the problem, meaning scientists must balance intuition with logic, plus the fact that macroscopic objects can show wave-like behavior implies that matter has a more abstract definition and composition than otherwise suspected. The process of a wave having many possibilities before collapsing indicates that consciousness could have a role in shaping reality. This would be a strong argument for the importance of metaphysics. The nature of existence would be a prime element in the fact mentioned above, as it's hard to observe consciousness shaping reality logically and empirically. The emergence of consciousness could precede the Big Bang. Perhaps the development of the consciousness of a higher power created the universe. Sticking to this idea, the concept of the Brahman in Hinduism, a conscious divine order of the universe, could be the creator of the universe. This means that all of the creation in this universe or a string of universes could be a part of one consciousness. Classical philosophical influences on astrophysics include Aristotle, Ptolemy, and Copernicus. The Pythagorean paradigm, which describes a source of light or heat being at the center of the universe, is a subject of interest in relation to astrophysics, as well as metaphysics. This idea is central to metaphysics and it's referred to as the idea of the central sun. The central sun explains the great attractor theory, proving that metaphysical intuitive nudges can potentially explain scientific phenomena. Taub's article, Paradigms in the Eye of the Beholder, Aristotle, Ptolemy, and Copernicus, also points to the pseudo-superior nature of mathematics in ancient astronomy, which could influence the superiority science feels over metaphysics and the push towards empiricism. The heliocentric system proposed by Copernicus could indicate humanity's narcissism, which incorrectly led humanity to believe that they were more central to life than the sun. String theory and the multiverse are exemplary examples of the relationship between metaphysics and astrophysics. R. David Ruquist's article, Implications of a Multiverse String Cosmology, is unique because it revolves around cosmology. Space is seen as a pre-space-time system. What metaphysical ideas and the multiverse hypothesis have in common is that they both challenge the status quo. They defy tradition and expand scientists' understanding of causality and the nature of the universe. The metaphysical concept of what defines reality is the structure of the multiverse. For example, would the original universe be the basis of reality? Because string theory only provides a mathematical foundation for the multiverse hypothesis, it is required to fill in the blanks with metaphysical inquiry. The non-local and instant nature of gravity, as proposed in this academic article, challenges the traditional lines of thought in physics. This is necessary because science must always be growing and evolving. If astrophysics cling to stagnant old hypotheses, then science won't have its rational authority. Thus, it should be encouraged to assist science with metaphysical ideas to keep it from being stagnant. Dark matter can surprisingly be tied to metaphysics and anti-empiricism. Macroscopic factors such as galaxy shape arise from supernova, i.e., microscopic or possibly localized objects. This isn't solely mechanistic. It can be attributed to metaphysical concepts like laws of nature. However, this matter is one of strong emergence because of the abstract correlation between an explosion of matter and the construction of a larger structure in such a chaotic burst of energy. In my opinion, dark matter is real, but it can also be a stand-in in physicists' models and thinking, as well as for unknown mechanics of physics. The fact that dark matter has never been definitively observed could show that the article relies on metaphysical laws to say that dark matter can be redistributed. I support the Newtonian view that the laws of nature are authoritative laws that constrain the mechanics of reality. I assume that the universe is metaphysically rigid. Moreover, in regard to computer simulations governing the universe, perhaps humanity could find the true composition of the universe by creating an advanced simulation of the universe when humanity acquires future technology. The human perception of time is an interesting factor. It relates to Aristotle, Ptolemy, and Copernicus. The first connection is that the perceived speed of time is congruent with Aristotle's belief. The article points out that nature provides a balanced temporal perspective, a fact that can be used to assert that time is non-existent. The past, present, and future all blend together, since time seems to disappear in moments of meditation in nature. Eternalism is the metaphysical reality, but humans perceive reality as if they are moving through time, as if progress is being made toward the end of time. Eternalism is congruent with both metaphysics and physics, as Albert Einstein stated that time is relative to the observer. If time is relative to the observer, then there is no empirical measure of time. The cosmic rhythm that Ptolemy offered, contrary to the traditional measurement of time through the sky, can also be connected to the perception of time through circadian rhythms. Circadian rhythms could show the human body's natural connection to the cosmos and the Earth's position relative to the sun. The perception of time also brings up the fascinating elasticity of time through the human collective's emotion and context. According to metaphysical ideas, there is something rather than nothing, and this condition allows for observers of the universe. Anthropically, humans can only observe a universe that is compatible with the conditions of our existence, which acts as a filter to what is metaphysically obtainable to perceive. Some qualities of the universe seem fine-tuned for life, such as the strength of gravity. According to the many worlds interpretation, which this article is about, we are in one of the many universes that contain life. This can justify the indication of a grand design of the universe or a creator, which is congruent with metaphysical musings. Empiricists may argue that it's out of necessity. However, the existence of life is such a low probability that the idea that the universe was created by an entity is more probable. Taking into consideration the specific chain of events that have taken place to sustain life on Earth is mind-blowingly tedious. The timeline is perceived as progressive due to the fact that intelligent observers can only exist in low-entropy universes where time may be asymmetric. This may mean that the progression of time is anthropically constrained. The strong anthropic principle, symmetric with metaphysical philosophies, may posit that the universe must produce conscious observers at one time. Meanwhile, consciousness and perception create reality. Structural realism in metaphysics aligns with the entropy of black holes by claiming that reality is 2D, but 3D in the projection of reality, and the volume of space is illusionary, because the information is in the boundary of a region of a black hole. Because entropy bounds indicate that there is an information ceiling existing within the boundary of the cosmos, this pushes a hard limit onto consciousness. Effectively, consciousness can't be reduced to physical experiences due to the finite nature of the information. humanity must look for spiritual processes to complete the picture of existence. In the event that the universe is deterministic, observers must ask whether everything in the universe can be predicted or known about. This seems to be an impossible task. If the universe is infinite and holds an infinite amount of possibilities, it's implausible that observers can pinpoint every phenomenon in the universe. There are bound to be phenomena that will slip through the cracks of observation and remain unnoticed. Plus, how can humans understand every concept of the universe's operation when humanity can't completely grasp phenomena on Earth? The universe isn't deterministic because there's a limit to what humanity can know about physical phenomena. This may indicate a higher power and the existence of a higher consciousness and spirit that can extend the view beyond physical reality and into ethereal essence. This conclusion is justified because it's assumed that physicality is a limit on knowledge. There must be a creator in mind that defies the physical nature of the universe and contains knowledge and spirit. Accessing a higher consciousness is the only way humanity can understand all the information in the universe. An article by C.A. Casanova titled, "Did God Cause the World by an Act of Free Will?" According to Aristotle, a reading based on Thomistic insights can be used to relate human consciousness to the collective consciousness in metaphysics. Michael Tomasello refers to the shared mental states of human civilizations. In metaphysics, the collective consciousness refers to the combined consciousnesses of humanity, making up one thought bubble, so to speak. This could be the mental equivalent to the seemingly collective nature of birds that fly and react like one being in perfect harmony and fluidity. The principle of a single consciousness for each species can be applied to any species. It is necessary to note that each human can have separate experiences, as well as thoughts because of the illusion of separation. It takes an evolved understanding of the universe to recognize that life is defined as the universe experiencing itself. An argument can be made that the only way to understand the phenomenon of an infinite universe is to separate into different consciousness and experience what it's like to be inside the universe, given that the default of creation is that the universe is ignorant to what it's like to live inside the universe. This article relates to a previous article, both of which prove that humanity can't reduce human consciousness to just physical phenomena. The emergence of religion as an interpretation of morality from human perspectives aligns with the idea that consciousness creates reality. If humans search for meaning in life, they may conclude that there is a creator. If they search for a moral authority or an ideal divinity, they may also conclude that there is a designer of the universe. The article incorporates the historical evolution of philosophy and consciousness with respect to religion, which complements another article mentioned in this video about Aristotle, Ptolemy, and Copernicus. Empiricists may believe that the human consciousness is the perceiver of reality. In their school of thought, what conscious organisms perceive through their senses is the only fundamental truth. I agree that this definition of consciousness could be forged from their existence, changing reality with their ability to observe. It's similar to the idea of Schrödinger's cat. When a person observes that the cat is in a sealed box, it is both alive and dead. Similarly, when the universe is experiencing itself, it's both alive and dead, both because the idea of life is relative and the acknowledgement of life is created by consciousness. This article is brought up to connect to the point about ancient philosophers, plus ideas about the cosmos, which created a foundation for metaphysics. Aristotle attributed the authority of the movement of the cosmos to God, solidifying his creation of the universe as an act of free will. This can be associated with the idea that consciousness creates reality. This is because the universe may have existed without a beginning, meaning that it is inconceivable to think of the idea that God could exist because it's unknown how God was created. It could be that the universe's consciousness of itself created God, which then created a separate consciousness to experience itself. Moreover, the matter can be viewed in a way that challenges divine causality by bringing up the question of who created God. Did something create God? This video takes the compatibilist approach to the metaphysical debate on free will. This article can be used to further discuss determinism in relation to the assertion that determinism isn't plausible, but adds that things can originate from both free will and determinism. If something is inevitable, a person can still have the free will to choose that event. How? Well, because a person doesn't definitively know that all things in the universe are predetermined, they have the understanding that they are making a decision from free will. Humans could have free will about something that is casually determined because their free will could create determinism with their consciousness, or determinism could determine that they will decide something with their free will in co-creation with the universe. Libertarian free will is more plausible in this case, as in metaphysics, some believe that all events in the universe could change due to shifts in the current energy. Another explanation would be that conscious beings could shift into a parallel universe and change the fate of humanity, with their free will, of course. A provocative article called A Neo-Aristotelian Approach to a Unified Theory of Physics challenges the notion that empirical data is superior. It suggests that the Neo-Aristotelian ontology provides a more full comprehension of the unification of scientific laws. Okay, hi guys, my camera ran out of storage, but I'm back, so let's get back into it. Especially in relation to large structures in the universe, it's impossible to completely identify and observe the entirety of a complex object. Dark matter and dark energy pose opposition to empiricism, as they are outside the realm of observation, being essentially undetectable. An article titled Alternative Cosmologies presents the case that research challenging the Big Bang Theory often becomes marginalized, partially because of theoretical devotion to the standard of scientific thinking. The fact that undetectable things such as dark matter and dark energy is assumed to exist serves the purpose of preserving the popular scientific ideologies. The relationship between astrophysics and metaphysics has long been debated in relation to empiricism and science. It's an undeniable truth that science is built on the foundation of empirical observation. However, an argument can be made to cease this tradition of empiricism due to its efficiency barrier. There comes a time in development when different methods and interdisciplinary perceptions must be used and adopted to further the capability of science. Telescopes and computational methods, examples of such empirical methods in science, have been very useful, but there are a lot of problems yet to be solved in astrophysics, such as dark matter and dark energy, as well as the definitive origin of the universe, and the plausibility of the multiverse. This need for new perspectives has caused the emergence of metaphysical connections to astrophysics. Moreover, traditions such as empiricism can create stagnancy. This principle can be seen in social movements. Certain traditional ideologies can cause stagnancy in society, and development can be limited. An example of this is that women were previously seen as unfit for the workforce, which limited the stimulation of the economy and the size of the workforce. When women entered the workforce, more work was able to be done. Questioning existence, causality, and reality are metaphysical concepts that have no empirical basis. However, they are valid in their own right. After all, reality is the globe that science attempts to display on a map. Isaac Newton's development of absolute space and time theories presents grounds that science has had metaphysical influences for a long time. These theories were the foundation for classical mechanics, being derived from means other than observation. Plus, Einstein had to think outside of the box when he developed his perspective of space-time, meaning he couldn't observe space-time directly, but had to use metaphysical inquiry to observe his thoughts. String theory is a popular modern theory that utilizes speculation over definitive observation, which proves that concepts with metaphysical roots can become valid in the scientific community without the use of empiricism in its construction. The idea of one-dimensional strings in string theory, which vibrate in multiple dimensions, defies the nature of empiricism. There are many questions that humanity can't observe, due to current technological restrictions, and we may never be able to access them due to the infinite expanse of the universe, making it necessary for astrophysicists to use metaphysics to fill in the gaps. Anti-Empiricism provides a necessary critique on the standard ideological epicenter of science, which is solely relying on sensory observation, challenging the idea that empirical data is the only valid resource for logical minds. Immanuel Kant argued that some knowledge is derived independently from experience. The principle of sufficient reason, to some degree, provides a contrary opinion to empiricism. The creation of the universe is a prime example of how humanity's vision of the birth of existence is limited. The question must be raised: does the beginning of time serve as a distinct point on a timeline, or is the reality of the situation extending past empirical measures? Cosmic fine-tuning has raised the possibility of a multiverse and a creator, despite the confines of empiricism's stranglehold on the scientific community. It makes scientists wonder the following questions. Number 1, does the universe have a unified purpose? And number 2, is life a necessity in a universe fine-tuned for life? If so, doesn't that signify the presence of a being above human understanding? Theoretical physics has emerged despite the empirical standard, where hypotheses are developed before empirical observations can occur. This has acted as a catalyst that further enhances the ongoing debate between anti-empiricism and empiricism. As previously discussed, dark matter and dark energy are undetectable but remain a necessary component on contemporary understandings of the structure of the universe. If you've gotten to this point, I really appreciate you. This concludes the video. If you're interested in my other channel, it's called Never the Muse and it'll be linked down below. If you're interested in following me on Instagram, my username is Pandora's Jewelry Box 05. Have a wonderful week and I'll see you next time.